Hey, and welcome back to the Dice Tower for our top 100 games of all time. I'm Camilla, and today I'm going to talk to you about my games 61 through 70. Now, as I was kind of looking through this chunk of games, I kind of realized there's a lot of what I call my shallow games on here, ones that I was drawn into initially just because of the look. Now, the look didn't keep me there. I do think that these are all backed up by some really good mechanisms, each unique in their own way, but ultimately just a really, really pretty grouping here of games. There is one abstract though, which was as well as of a surprise, because if you know my taste at all, I'm not really into abstract. I need that theme and that pretty nature of the game, or something really gritty, to kind of draw me in. But there is an abstract on there. So lots of surprises to come. Let's jump in. Number 70, Islebound. I really love water and games that are set in water environments. Whether you're a pirate in a ship or it's underwater like Aquatica we talked about last week. But so Islebound really drew me in just because of that, just the setting alone typically. And of course it's backed up by Ryan Laukatt's amazing artwork and kind of this world that he creates, right? But what I think sets Islebound apart, and especially in Ryan's game specifically, is these kind of micro actions that you take. Ultimately, it's an efficiency puzzle. You know what you want to do. You know you need to get this renown and get these points at the end of the game, and that's how you're going to win. But what's the most efficient way to do that? Is it by going out and collecting resources in order to build different buildings, which gets you power or gets you those points? Or is it by gaining influence or taking over different ports? So there's a lot of different ways to do things and to get points, but you can't just go do one thing. Typically, any of those things are a 3 or 4 step process. And so you have to efficiently plan your turns a couple ahead of time in order to get that goal, as well as remain flexible as other players might get in your way. So these kind of micro actions, a really good mix of tactics versus strategy in this game. Islebound is my number 70. Number 69, Planet Unknown. Now, what makes Planet Unknown not just another polyomino game to me is the leveling up system and the tracks that are included. There is a base intro into this game where you don't play with these asymmetrical factions, and I really find a good balance between playing with those or not. I prefer playing with those to give you a little bit of direction to start with, or kind of almost a little micro game on some of them. But I have found in play groups, people that play without that power and people that do play with that power are still very competitive. So there's a good balance to it as well for new players. But yeah, so you're going to have these tracks that you're moving up and getting more powerful and trying to balance, bringing out these polyominoes. One, not only what fits, but also how quickly are you pushing end game, and what are the other players doing? You need to be aware of what they're doing and that approaching end game and how well they're filling out their board. But ultimately, you're playing your own puzzle on your 2 boards. One, your player board, where you're leveling up these tracks and trying to get these special bonus actions and combos, but also on your main land board where you're covering up and exploring it. So that real balance, I guess, of those couple different things, the way you're leveling up but also have this spatial puzzle, is a lot of fun and makes Planet Unknown unique, which is why it's my number 69. Number 68, beep beep boop boop. Transmissions. Transmissions is another one that first of all brought me in with the art. And I'm not the only one. Actually, when this game was being designed, the designer approached the artist, Matt Dixon, and said, "I love your work. I'd like to make a board game around it." So I know I'm not alone in that. But what brings you in is the art and this cute, just all the emotions that I think that these transmissions or that these robots bring and just show in the art. But what keeps you there is a very simple, pleasing gameplay. The hook is the communal workers. So there's one track or one rondel board, but there's 4 workers on it. And in your hand, you have cards to control those. So you might have a great turn lined up, but then if somebody moves that worker, you have to adjust with what options you have available to you. That being said, I feel like there's always a good option. There's a good variety in the cards. So while it's a simple gameplay, you don't ever have that bad turn, and there's a lot of different paths to victory. You kind of pick your play style, you can lean into that, But ultimately, you're going to end up doing a little bit of everything, again, because of this communal rondel and workers that you're using. So 68 is transmissions. Number 67, Rome. So here we're going to talk about Ryan Lockett again. I think this is a really underappreciated game from him. Rome is kind of a spatial puzzle, kind of polyomino, kind of abstract. But what makes it work is those three things working together. The art is absolutely beautiful, and I feel like that kind of overcomes the real abstract nature of it. There is a theme there, but it's, really what you're doing is you have this general area of cards that you're vying for area control on by using your individual polyominoes to cover up. So once a card is completely covered up, whoever has the majority there gets to add it to their tableau and available polyominoes to use. This is one that I used for spatial awareness with my son when I was homeschooling again, but golly, it is such a bigger game than that. Yes, it's very simple and we could sit down and play it quickly, and he kind of learns how to manipulate those shapes in his mind and make things work. But also it's just a fun game. I use this a lot as a filler game to start a game night. It's a little bit long for a filler game specifically, but I still, in my mind, I have it in that category. I think there's great bones and meat in this game. So 67 for me is Rome. Number 66, Gizmos. Gizmos has such a fantastic toy factor. I mean, who doesn't like this marble structure that you're building and that you're kind of using to fuel your own engine? Also, it's an engine builder, which is incredibly satisfying. When you get that engine working together and you get those fantastic combos that just run so smoothly, oh, it's so satisfying and such a great turn and great fun. It also has open drafting, which I like. So you're kind of watching what you do and you want that card and you're building up to it, but you're also keeping an eye on your neighbor because they might be going for it as well. It's just a very satisfying game. This is one that there's a couple iconic points in the game where you're going to have that combo-tastic turn that just feeds the endorphins and always is a great time to me. So it's got a great toy factor, it's a lot of fun, and I highly enjoy Gizmos, which is my number 66. Number 65, Butterfly. I talked about Rome being abstracted, but my number 65, Butterfly, is much more abstracted. I consider this to be an abstract game, which is surprising for me, right? Like, I really don't care for abstract games. I need that rich lore and theme or something gritty or beautiful to kind of draw me in. Butterfly is possibly the lightest and most abstract game on my top 100. But what I like about it is it's a balance of being able to capitalize or lean into your play style and making sure that you're not setting others up for a great turn either. But it's very rules light and it's very quick to play. I mean, I could play a 2-player game of this in about 15 minutes. And that's really a sweet spot for me with these abstract games. It's also very flexible in its play style. Are you going to be one that's really going to go into 1 or 2 of these insects or scoring opportunities? Or are you going to be someone that kind of does a little bit of everything, as well as keeping in mind what you're setting others up for? You kind of want to back them in a corner in a little bit. So it's a little bit of a puzzle. It's a little bit of freedom in how you do your scoring, but it's quick, it's punchy, and it's just pleasing, which is about my capacity for an abstract game. So Butterfly, I think, is a great game for those who don't typically love abstract but just want a pleasing experience, and it is one that I find hitting the table quite a bit. So Butterfly is my number 65. Number 64, Paleo. I think the unique action selection in Paleo is really what sets it apart from other cooperative games. You have a hand of 3 cards each turn, and you have a general idea what they might do, but you don't know for sure. So collaboratively, you're going to be talking, hey, we really need to try to get this resource. I'll go there. Maybe I play this card and I might be able to help you. And you come up with a general idea of what you want to do. But then on the card reveal, you might not have got the option that you want, and that might just kind of be turned on its head completely. And you really have to adapt as that comes. So I think this unique action selection where you have a choice of 3, you're collaboratively deciding, but you don't have full information on the actions is really unique and leads to a really tactical, cooperative play experience. You're adapting constantly in this game to what you are dealt or what you choose, I guess, inadvertently. So I think that's really unique. As well as the base game comes with a lot of different modules, and I think those modules add enough variability to it that you never memorize the cards, and again, never have full information. You know, so there's cards that have the same back that might have a different front. And so you kind of learn the statistics a little bit, or what it might be, what it might not be. But again, because of that variability and that modules that you're mixing together, it's impossible to have the full information. And for me, that's really unique in Paleo and puts it at my number 64. Number 63, Deus. Deus was kind of a shock to me when I first opened it up because the cover and the boards look like 2 completely different games. So it was kind of a journey that I went through in playing this game where I was like, oh, I really like the look of this. Oh, it's an engine builder. I like what you're telling me. And then I opened the box and I was like, this looks pretty abstracted and very different than what I imagined. But then as I was playing it, what I realized is it's not just another engine builder. It's a really great blend of engine building as well as player interaction, kind of combat on a main board. It starts out as this exploration game where you're going out and just trying to settle and build towns and buildings and all these different things, but eventually space runs out and you kind of have to have that in mind and be setting yourself up for these good tactical kind of combat turns. And I think that that's a really nice arc to the game. So it is an engine builder where you're going to feel powerful on those turns, where you're activating all of one color and you know you've set that order perfectly and it's like boom, 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 I get this, which goes to that, which does this, which feeds that, and you feel so empowered at the end of that turn. It has those moments, but ultimately the more you play, the more you kind of see the arc of the game and realize at some point that you're gonna have to get into that battle. And if you've set your engine up right, oh, it's so sweet and such a great ending to a slow build of a game. So I really enjoy Deus, and it's my number 63. Number 62, Seven Wonders Architects. The gameplay in Seven Wonders Architect is pretty light. I would really kind of put it in the family weight category. But what I think it does differently is it gives you a lot of options to do. And you have to figure out for yourself how you want to play into that. You know, do you want to invest in your military and be ready for those big battles and get some sneaky points that way? Do you want to invest in science so that you get those powers that you can use in the game to really expedite your building process? Or do you want to collect resources and focus on building your actual architect? All of these are possible, and you can kind of ebb and flow as the game goes and play into these different play styles. I love, love, love the mechanism of there being 2 decks that you can draw from, so you always have options, but you're trying to kind of make sure that you are getting the action that you want and also not leaving a super sweet one for your neighbor. So the fact that you have these 2 decks to draw from, which are shared with your neighbors, just adds to some interesting decisions. And again, what's a pretty light gameplay? So for that, I think Seven Wonders is unique in this family weight category, and I'm always excited to bring it to the table, to show it to new people, to try a new strategy, to lean heavier into one play style than another. And it just, I'm always excited to play. What can I say? There it is. My number 62, Seven Wonders Architects. Number 61, Namiji. Namiji is one of those games where there is a single track that all the players are going down through the game. And the game is when someone reaches the end. But whoever's in the back is the one who takes the next turn. So turn order is evolving constantly in this game. That leads you with some interesting decisions of when does turn order matter? Are you going to be one that's going to jump ahead to make sure you get that spot and be able to maximize the scoring that you built up for yourself? Or are you going to be one that, hey, it doesn't so much matter right now, I'm going to stay behind so that I can take a couple different actions in a row? And so you're always evaluating this and maybe even moment, mid-game, swinging one way or the other as you look at the board state, what other people are trying to build up and what you're trying to build up, and find that balance in the middle. What I really like about this, though, is there's never a wasted turn. This is one that you constantly kind of feel set up for success. Maybe it's not as efficient or a perfect turn, but it's never a bust of a turn. There's always something you can do, and everything is just that positive movement forward. I really like that about it, and it's very simplistic in its design and in its visual aesthetics, I think. It's very pleasing, it's very simple, and it's just a really smooth gameplay. With this turning of turns, I guess, of turn order, you don't really ever get lost. And I think that is really key in a game that has as much change happening as this one does. So for that, Namiji is my number 61. There you have my game 61 through 70. Any surprises on there to you? Like I said, I was definitely caught off guard by Butterfly being an abstract game. Deus definitely threw in some mechanisms that I'm not usually comfortable with the player interaction and stuff like that. So surprises to me as I was making this list. How about you? Are there any games that you were initially drawn into for one reason or another? For me, for the aesthetics, and what made you stay in that game? Something different. Let me know in the comments down below, and we will see you next week.